Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. This time, it's going to be about the problem VR could potentially experience in the future. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, the main source for this video will be in the comments below. It's a great article, so make sure you go read it after the video. Ever since I got my Oculus Quest, just over a month ago, I've tried quite a few games now and still haven't found a bad one, which amazed me, as on PC, Xbox and PlayStation, there are so many bad games and so many games which have implemented pay-to-win mechanics nowadays. So with virtual reality, I see it in a state where no big game development companies are putting resources into games. Obviously, there is one exception, which is Valve, with making Half-Life Alyx. But let's be honest, Valve have always been ahead of the curve and always paved the path for innovation in the video game industry. They also never sell out and make games which they are not happy with. They'll never release a game that has pay-to-win mechanics or rush a game to meet a deadline. Unfortunately, those companies are far and few between nowadays. I believe we saw this change in the mainstream video game industry between PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. Now, I might be looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, but it seems all the companies started catching on to the fact there was a lot of money to make in the video game industry. And did some companies take advantage of this? So yeah, the article below, make sure you go read it because it's a very good read and some of this is modelled off that article. So in the article, he mentions about how in the 1980s video games were isolated to just arcades, where you would go and put your money in the machines to give the game a go. Back then, the games were a lot harder though. I mean, I have experienced this before with Time Crisis, where I probably spent a lot of money on it and never actually completed it. This was their tactic back in the day to keep you playing and coming back for more, because if you complete an arcade game, there's not really much left to do. So in theory, video games were built on the basis of getting the player to dip into their pockets, but obviously completing it first time would be a terrible business model. So it's all about balance. Then we move on to the era of the PlayStation 2, as I don't remember the PlayStation 1 that much. Now, back then, there was online on the PlayStation 2, but not to the scale it is now. Game studios couldn't just release a game unfinished and simply fix bugs and glitches in later updates. They'd have a finished game on release date, or word would get out and people wouldn't buy it and the company would probably have to close their doors. So they bug tested the hell out of their games to make sure it was good as they could get it, as they couldn't simply just release future updates. For example, imagine if No Man's Sky, Fallout 76 or Star Wars Battlefront 2 couldn't simply push updates out and the first iteration was the final game. No one would be playing them. I know that games are obviously being made at a much bigger scale nowadays, but in my opinion, as the budget has increased exponentially, along with the number of people working on these games. My favourite example of a pay-to-win game is EA Sports FIFA series. I hold my hands up though, I got sucked into this system for many years until I took a step back and realised what I was doing. If you've never played it, I'll give you a brief description. So it's a soccer or football game, depending on where you live. It has very basic game modes, but then they have their moneymaker Ultimate Team. You then have to collect players and add them to your team and try and make the best team possible to beat everyone else. Now this sounds great to begin with, but to unlock the card you have to buy packs which cost quite a lot of money and you aren't even guaranteed a good player. That's why I hate the system they've put in place, because it is gambling, which kids have access to. The game is whoever has the biggest wallet wins most of the time, and because they have a new game out each year, which they charge full price for, and it is just a reskin with the players on their new teams, and then you have to start all over again the next year, so it's a conveyor belt of money for EA. It's no wonder they have voted the worst company in America by consumerists 2 years in a row. So to bring it all back round to VR, at the moment it is mainly smaller companies making games for the platform. Now obviously they are looking to make money from their games, but they aren't looking to exploit their player base like many mainstream video game companies are doing. That's one of the reasons I've fallen in love with VR. There's such a good community around it, especially with side quests, where small creators can release their games. It is so much fun to play someone's game who you can tell has worked very hard on it, and you can easily get into contact with them if you have a problem. I just fear in the future the same companies will worm their way in and start leeching on the VR platform. With microtransactions, pay-to-win methods and season passes, I just hope that everyone can take a page out of Valve's book. You can release a AAA game and make money without exploiting the player base, and that it is also possible to release a polished, finished game. But that's not to say that I don't want the VR platform to grow, because I would love that. I would absolutely love there to be more players in VR. I just don't want it to get to a point where these companies like EA are just trying to leech off the VR platform and just squeezing all the money they can out of it. But that's just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. So thanks for watching guys, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.